The film begins in 1979. Two police officers arrive at a lonely house in the countryside and slowly step inside. The moment they enter, they are stunned. Several dead bodies are lying across the floor, and the entire house looks strangely disturbed. One of the officers notices a narrow passage leading down to the basement, so he calls the other officer to follow him. When the two men carefully descend the stairs, they see something horrifying. However, the audience is not shown what they discovered, because the scene suddenly cuts to events that happened 2 days earlier. We are then introduced to a young model named Maxine. She dreams of becoming a huge superstar one day, but at the beginning of her career, she struggles to find proper roles. Because of this, she starts acting in low-budget films just to earn some money and survive financially. Soon, we see Maxine traveling in a van with the rest of the film crew as they head toward their shooting location. Their destination is the very same house that was shown at the beginning of the movie. When they arrive, the director steps out of the van and knocks on the door. Suddenly, an old man opens the door while pointing a gun at them. The man immediately assumes they are robbers who have come to attack and steal from them. But the director quickly explains that they had rented property from him for a film shoot. The old man slowly realizes what is happening and says that he never rented them the main house. Instead, he tells them to follow him because the place he rented to them is the cabin located upstairs. The crew begins unloading their equipment and belongings from the van. At that moment, Maxine notices an old woman standing at a window, staring at her in a very strange way. Trying not to think too much about it, Maxine carries her luggage and heads toward the upstairs cabin along with the rest of the crew. Meanwhile, the old man continues to behave strangely toward Maxine, as if he does not like her presence there. He complains to the director that he never agreed to allow so many people to stay on the property. The director calmly offers him some extra money and convinces him to relax. The old man finally agrees, but warns them to be careful. He explains that his wife lives in the house and she does not like loud noises or disturbances. He warns them that if they upset her in any way, he will immediately throw all of them out. The director reassures him once again and eventually sends him away. After that, the crew begins preparing everything for the shoot. Later, Maxine walks away from the cabin and decides to explore the farm area nearby. While wandering around, she once again notices the same old woman watching her in a very unsettling way. Curious about her strange behavior, Maxine decides to go inside the house and speak with her. As she enters, she realizes the house is in terrible condition. Everything looks dirty and neglected, as if no one has cleaned the place for years. Some parts of the house even appear broken and damaged. While Maxine is observing the place, the old woman suddenly appears behind her. The sudden appearance startles Maxine badly. The old woman calmly asks her to sit down and begins talking to her. However, Maxine feels extremely uncomfortable being there. She clearly wants to leave as soon as possible, but the old woman begins telling her a sad story from her past. She explains that she once dreamed of becoming a model and a famous star just like Maxine. But instead of achieving those dreams, she ended up trapped in this lonely place. She tells Maxine that when she looks at her, she sees the same passion she once had. And that thought frightens her because she fears Maxine might end up with the same fate. Hearing these words makes Maxine feel even more uneasy. She prepares to leave before the situation becomes worse. Just then, the old woman hears someone walking outside the house. She realizes that it must be her husband returning, so she quickly tells Maxine to leave through the back door because her husband does not like strangers entering the house. Meanwhile, the film crew has finished setting up everything for the shoot. They begin filming a scene inside a bar set. At the same time, the old woman who had been watching Maxine starts imagining herself in Maxine's place. In her mind, she relives the dreams she once had in her youth. Dreams of becoming a famous star and living a glamorous life. Now that Maxine is living the life she once wanted, jealousy and hatred slowly begin to grow inside her, and that bitterness becomes clearly visible on her face. After finishing the shoot, the crew returns to the cabin to rest for the night. During this time, Lauren, who is not even part of the acting industry, begins sharing her thoughts with everyone. She admits that her perspective about the film world has started to change. She says she finds it strange how actors and actresses, even while having families and partners, become physically close to other people during filming. The director calmly explains that during shooting, there are no real emotions involved when two actors kiss or act intimately. He tells her it is simply part of their job as performers. According to him, their real feelings and attachments belong only to their partners in real life. He explains that professionals never mix their work with their personal lives. Hearing this explanation, Lauren becomes impressed by the director's viewpoint. For the first time, she starts thinking that acting might actually be interesting. She even wishes she could get a chance to perform in front of the camera. Seeing her interest, the director immediately offers her a small role in the film. However, Lauren's fiancé, RJ, is completely against the idea. He clearly feels uncomfortable with Lauren acting in the film. But the director patiently convinces RJ that it is only acting and nothing more. Eventually, RJ reluctantly agrees, and they continue filming. Even though RJ does not protest at that moment, the situation clearly disturbs him. Later that night, when everyone else falls asleep, RJ quietly breaks down and begins crying heavily. The pain and jealousy inside him become too much to handle. In frustration, he decides to leave the place altogether. He gets into his car and starts the engine, planning to drive away. But just as he is about to leave, the old lady suddenly appears in front of the car. RJ assumes she has wandered outside because of her old age and unstable condition. Concerned for her safety, he steps out of the car and tries to help her return to the house. However, the situation quickly becomes uncomfortable. The old woman suddenly hugs RJ and begins making strange and disturbing advances toward him. RJ feels extremely awkward and tries to push her away. At that moment, the old woman's behavior changes completely. She suddenly attacks RJ and grabs his neck. RJ screams loudly for help, but the old woman overpowers him with shocking strength. She pins him down and strangles him mercilessly. RJ slowly becomes weaker and weaker, unable to fight back. Within moments, he dies in the hands of the old woman. After killing him, the old lady quietly takes the car keys and leaves the area. Later that night, Lauren suddenly wakes up and notices that RJ is not beside her. Worried, she rushes outside to search for him. The noise wakes up the director as well, and he steps outside to see what is happening. Lauren nervously tells him that RJ has disappeared. The director tries to calm her and says that RJ must still be somewhere nearby. But Lauren insists that she has already searched everywhere. Now the director also becomes concerned and begins searching for RJ himself. After checking around the house, he decides to search the nearby barn. At that moment, he is walking barefoot. Near the entrance of the barn, a sharp nail is sticking out of a wooden plank on the ground. Because of the darkness, the director does not notice it. As he steps forward, the nail pierces deeply into his foot. The pain causes him to collapse immediately. While sitting there in agony, he notices several small holes in the wooden wall of the barn. Through those holes, he sees a shadow moving outside. Curious and confused, he slowly moves closer and tries to look through the holes to see who is there. Suddenly, two sharp metal rods are violently pushed through the holes. They stab directly into his eyes. The director dies instantly from the brutal attack. It becomes clear that the old lady was responsible for this trap as well. She had deliberately placed the nail at the entrance so that anyone entering the barn would get injured and become vulnerable. Meanwhile, Lauren is still desperately searching for RJ. While wandering around, she eventually reaches the old couple's house. The old man appears extremely nervous when he sees her. Lauren tells him that her fiancé has gone missing and asks if he has seen him. The old man replies that his wife is also missing. He says that finding her is even more important because she is mentally unstable and capable of doing anything. Believing his story, Lauren agrees to help him search for his wife. The old man suggests that she should check the basement of the house. He asks her to go down there and bring his wife back if she finds her. Trusting him, Lauren walks down into the dark basement. But the moment she goes inside, the old man quietly shuts the basement door behind her, trapping her inside. At this moment, the truth becomes clear. Not only the old woman, but her husband is also a complete psychopath. What exactly he plans to do with Lauren is not shown yet. Trapped inside the basement, Lauren desperately tries to open the door for a long time. When she realizes that the door will not open, she begins searching the basement for another possible way out. She switches on the flashlight she is carrying and slowly scans the dark basement. What she sees in front of her shocks her completely. The horrifying sight is the same one that stunned the police officers at the beginning of the film. Terrified by what she discovers, Lauren lets out a loud scream. Her scream echoes through the property and wakes up another member of the crew who is sleeping in the nearby cabin. At that moment, Lauren finally realizes that the old couple is far from normal. They are extremely dangerous people who enjoy killing others. The young man who wakes up after hearing Lauren's scream steps outside the cabin to see what is happening. There he finds the old man standing nearby. The young man asks him if everything is all right. The old man quickly replies that his wife has gone missing and it is urgent to find her because she is mentally unstable. He claims that if she does something wrong, it could cause him serious trouble. The young man, trying to be helpful, offers to assist the old man in searching for his wife. Unfortunately, he has no idea that he is walking straight into a deadly trap. Without realizing it, he is choosing his own death. The old man leads him toward the shore of a lonely lake nearby. When they reach the lake, the young man notices something strange. A car appears to be partially submerged in the water. Confused, he tries to understand what might have happened there. But before he can even process the situation, the old man quietly pulls out a gun from behind him. Without giving the young man any chance to react, the old man shoots him dead. The scene then returns to Lauren, who is still trapped inside the basement and trembling with fear. Determined to survive, she searches around the basement for anything that could help her escape. Eventually, she finds an axe. Using all her strength, she begins striking the basement door in an attempt to break it open. After several blows, she finally manages to create a hole in the door. She carefully reaches her hand through the gap, trying to unlock it from the outside. But suddenly, the old woman appears on the other side. She coldly threatens Lauren, warning her to stay where she is. If she tries to escape, she promises that Lauren will suffer a terrible fate. Lauren freezes in fear after hearing the threat. Meanwhile, the story shifts to the cabin where the rest of the crew had been staying. After the deaths of the other men, only Maxine and Bobby remain alive there. Completely unaware of the danger surrounding them, Maxine is peacefully asleep. In the middle of the night, the old woman quietly enters the cabin. In a disturbing act, she removes her clothes and climbs into bed beside Maxine. Sensing that something is wrong, Maxine slowly wakes up. The moment she sees the old woman lying next to her, she screams in terror. Hearing the scream, Bobby rushes into the room. As he looks around, he quickly realizes that everyone else in the crew is missing. At the same time, the old woman is behaving in an extremely strange and unsettling way. Her appearance and behavior make it seem as if she has completely lost her mind. Trying to handle the situation calmly, Bobby covers the old woman with a cloth and gently tells her that he will take her back to her house. It is clear that the old woman does not want to go with him, but Bobby forcefully guides her outside. As they walk past the nearby lake, the old woman suddenly becomes aggressive and starts yelling at him. Then, in a shocking move, she deliberately pushes Bobby into the lake. She already knows that crocodiles live in that water. Just as she expected, the crocodiles immediately attack Bobby. Within moments, he is brutally killed in the lake. After committing this horrifying act, the old woman finally reunites with her husband. Together, they return to the cabin that the film crew had rented. Once inside, the old woman notices that Maxine is nowhere to be seen. She becomes upset and asks her husband to find her. During their conversation, it becomes clear that everything happening here has been carefully planned by both of them. The old man asks her why she suddenly needs Maxine now. The old woman quietly responds that she does not fully understand it herself, but she feels something special about Maxine. She says Maxine has the same passion that she once had in her youth. Because of that, she now wants Maxine. The old man tries to calm her down as she speaks. While the old couple is busy focusing on each other, Maxine quietly uses the opportunity to escape. She slowly slips outside and runs toward her car, but the moment she reaches it, her heart sinks. The old lady has already punctured the tires. Even worse, RJ's lifeless body is lying nearby, and the sight terrifies her completely. Just then, she hears Lauren's voice echoing from a distance. Lauren is screaming continuously for help. Realizing she is still alive, Maxine quickly grabs a gun and rushes toward the basement. She runs downstairs and finds Lauren trapped inside. Without wasting a second, Maxine helps Lauren climb out of the basement. Maxine urgently tells her that they must leave immediately because the situation has become extremely dangerous and their lives are at risk. She insists that they stay together and escape, but Lauren is furious and overwhelmed with anger. She shouts at Maxine, blaming her for bringing her into this nightmare. Lauren has already lost her fiancé, RJ, and in that moment, she cares about nothing but revenge. Holding an axe tightly in her hand, she decides to go forward alone. Unfortunately, this decision proves to be fatal. The moment she steps forward, the old man suddenly appears from the darkness and shoots her without hesitation. Lauren dies instantly. Maxine witnesses the entire scene from behind and quickly hides, trying to save herself. After the shooting, the old lady calmly tells her husband that they no longer need to worry about Maxine. She believes Maxine has already escaped and says they should simply let her go wherever she ran. The two of them then decide to clean up the mess and dispose of the bodies. As they begin carrying Lauren's body away, something unexpected happens. Lauren suddenly makes faint sounds of pain. She is not actually dead yet and is still barely alive. Hearing the noises terrifies the old man. Already weak because of his age and heart condition, the sudden fear overwhelms him. Within moments, he collapses and dies from a heart attack. The old woman is devastated by the sudden death of her husband. At that exact moment, Maxine seizes her chance. She grabs the gun and rushes outside. Pointing the weapon at the old woman, she demands the car keys. But the old woman refuses to give them. Maxine pulls the trigger in anger, only to realize that the gun is completely empty. Seeing this, the old woman begins laughing in a strange and mocking way. She tells Maxine that she understands exactly what kind of life Maxine is chasing. According to her, Maxine will never become a true star by continuing down such a path. She grabs her husband's gun and tries to shoot Maxine. However, when she fires, the powerful recoil knocks her down and seriously injures her. Maxine escapes with only a minor scratch. Seeing the old woman's helpless condition, Maxine laughs. She quickly grabs the car keys and gets into her vehicle. As Maxine prepares to drive away, the old woman screams curses at her from behind. Furious, Maxine suddenly presses the accelerator and runs the car over the old woman's head. Then she speeds away from the property. The scene then jumps forward to several days later. It returns to the same moment shown at the beginning of the film. Two police officers arrive at the house to investigate. As they search the property, they discover the bodies scattered around the house and a horrifying scene in the basement. They even find a man hanging there, which shocks them even further. While leaving the house after their investigation, they notice a television still playing inside. On the screen, a pastor is delivering a sermon. He is speaking about his daughter, claiming that she has lost her way and has begun committing terrible crimes. Instead of blaming himself or his daughter, the pastor blames society itself. According to him, society has stopped seeing evil as evil and now treats violence and sin as entertainment. As the broadcast continues, he shows a picture of his daughter. To the officer's surprise, the girl in the picture is none other than Maxine.